Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. It's another beautiful day in the crypto bull market. Yes, we are still in a bull market despite volatility that we are experiencing. It's all par for the course, folks. It's like a roller coaster ride. You can't have the highs without the lows, right? Let's see who we got here in the chat. True Grit, welcome in. We got 805 South Burrito, aka Miss MJS Fusion. Delhi, welcome in. Alan Jackson, great to have you. Good morning, everybody. Andrew Moreno, great to have you. John 316, great to have you. Tarwa today, welcome in. We got, let's see here, Mao Justice, if I'm saying that right. Apologies if I'm butchering that. Welcome in. Poker Mope XRP, great to have you. David, great to have you from the EU. Welcome in. We're going to talk about what's happening in the market. Bitcoin giving up the gains it made last night, or yesterday, I should say. We got, let's see, Austin from Tennessee. Welcome in, Austin. Mikal, if I'm saying that right. Good afternoon. Estevan Bravo, good to have you. Digital Asset Familia, welcome in from the EU. We got folks from across the US as well as the EU here. It's pretty awesome. So we're going to break through, we're going to go through bunch of stuff here. We got some big news. Let's see. David says, Brad posting bullish news and XRP not moving is frustrating. Well, David, as you know, good news does not mean price will move. As I often state, it depends where the market's at from a liquidity standpoint, sentiment standpoint. Is it overheated? So, for example, and we're going to go into deep into details on this, but Bitcoin on the daily chart, look at its RSI. It's in the overbought zone. So, what happens when you're in the overbought zone? There's usually a pullback. So, there's nothing unusual here. This is not some magic fairy dust. It's simply markets move by sentiment and they get overheated, and there's usually a pullback. There's also fake outs, right? The market faked us out yesterday. Could have been a liquidity grab that took place yesterday with Bitcoin going to 107,000. And as I always tell you guys, this is backed by data. Altcoins follow Bitcoin's moves. If Bitcoin is not doing well and it's pulling back, altcoins are going to suffer and bleed out. So you have to have that foundational knowledge of the markets versus just having blinders on and looking at one asset and saying, hey, why isn't this good news pumping the price? Well, you got to look at it with the broader market in mind, right? So important to have that knowledge and that foundational knowledge so you can navigate the market, so that even when you see good news on, let's say, XRP or Cardano or Ethereum, whatever it is, it is not moving the price. Why? Because overall, the market, Bitcoin specifically, had a pullback, and Bitcoin itself has been overheated in the overbought zone. So just things to keep in mind. Jem Tien, welcome in from Thailand. Valentino, welcome in. Great to have you. Mikal, great from Poland. Thank you. Andrew from Los Angeles. Just Get Wet, hey, from Texas. Kieran, great to have you. All right, folks, let's jump into this. So yesterday, Bitcoin pumped to $107,000. Then all of a sudden, in the evening and late at night and into this morning, a big dump. It took it all back. What's happening? Well, just what's par for the course, the natural volatility in the market. Just look at this. There's nothing unusual here. This is all cyclical pattern recognition that's taking place. But as I was mentioning, Bitcoin on the daily was in the overbought zone. So we're looking at the RSI, and you're going to see a bit of a cool off here. That doesn't mean the bull market's over. That doesn't mean we're not going higher. It's just we're going to hit resistance. We're going to hit overbought zones, and the volatility is going to be there. So don't be surprised if Bitcoin even drops down to, let's say, retest 100K or 98K or whatever it may be before we start moving higher. But if you look at where we're at, if we look at the Fibonacci model, we're breaking all the levels that we need to coming out of the bear market bottom. When in doubt, zoom out. And in the last cycles, Bitcoin hit the 3.618. It broke through it, actually. So we're not even close to that. We're still waiting for it to head to the break through the 2.618 and then head up here. there's no guarantee it gets there. So I want to make sure I'm balanced with that. There are no certainties here, but you can see Bitcoin is knocking at the door. It's going to eventually break through and head to new higher highs. And you may say, well, what are the factors that is going to help Bitcoin and altcoins to get there? Well, it's what we've been talking about, folks. That is looking at things like Bitcoin dominance, looking at Tether dominance and the liquidity that is going to be coming into the market. So we see Tether dominance has been breaking down, and that liquidity will flow into Bitcoin and altcoins. So you're seeing the same pattern we saw in the previous rallies. In addition, Bitcoin whales, they continue to accumulate. They're not dumping. So while retail may be scared and confused, we got Bitcoin whales continuing to accumulate wallets with 10 or more Bitcoin. This is on-chain data. The data doesn't lie. Supply and exchanges continues to drop to all-time lows, meaning the whales are not moving their coins back on the exchanges to sell. These are things we've seen historically, that they start moving their coins back on, they start taking profits. That is not happening. The opposite is happening. They're accumulating and they're taking the coins off the exchange. The other factors I've been sharing with you all is things like the DXY. That has been collapsing, of course, and is showing a lot of weakness. So usually when you have bull markets, you see the weakness in the dollar. In addition, global liquidity has been breaking out and leading the charge. So all of those factors are there for the bull market to continue. The other confirmation we're getting is that the stock market, because all risk assets are correlated to global liquidity, they're all following global liquidity. So Bitcoin was kind of leading the charge ahead of the stock market after the tariff crash. So you see here the S&P 500 V-shaped recovery. You see here the NASDAQ V-shaped recovery and the Dow Jones V-shaped recovery. And what's important, they're back above the 200-day moving average, which is bull market territory. If we were down here continuing to go down, that's bear market territory, just like we saw in 2022. So just something to keep in mind. Now, as always, no guarantee, because a black swan event could happen and change all of this. But I think we kind of had our pseudo black swan event with the tariff uncertainty that crashed all markets. So we are seeing recovery here, and it's going to be a stair-step process to get out of out of this zone. So we got to be patient and expect volatility. Nothing goes up in a straight line. So I'm still bullish. I believe we are in a bear market. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin came down and test some support levels before going higher. So that's what I'm looking at. And then, as Bitcoin is, finding some resistance or cooling down a bit right now, you're going to see altcoins. They're going to do the same thing because they follow Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a rising tide that lifts all boats. So that is what we're dealing with here, folks. But overall, the metrics, the data that we've been looking at are still holding up and pretty much saying we are in a bull market. So these are the things I'm looking at and why I'm not nervous or scared. Oh no, the price went down. What just happened? Oh, let me look at the data and see what is it telling us, right? That is so important, folks. So just keep that in mind. And then if you look at Bitcoin in the weekly on the higher time frame, more bullish confirmation. Look at this chart on the weekly. It looks very bullish. And look at the RSI. It has broken out on the weekly. It is pulling back a bit, but it was nearing the overbought zone, but it wasn't in it like we've seen in the previous rallies. And the most important thing here, the MACD has flipped green, showing the bulls have control. And it's just a matter of time as they pick up steam. We're going to start to see a rally for Bitcoin and altcoins. So here you can see the pattern from the previous rallies. Same thing repeating here. Simple pattern recognition, folks. And we're comfortably above that 200-day moving average. So this is a time to just relax and maybe step away from the screen if this stuff like this is happening, because it's just boring consolidation, sideways movement at times. And then when we start finding some more strength and we start moving, which I don't think is far off, things are going to start moving very quickly. So patience is the key, and keep looking at the data. This is why you're subscribed and you're tuning into this podcast. You're subscribed to my newsletter as well. Before we continue, folks, check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy and sell and stake cryptocurrencies. Trezor, they make beautiful hardware wallets and make it easy for you to self-custody and store your crypto safely. So check them out. They support all the major coins. They're an open source hardware wallet, and you can get one-on-one support from their customer service rep and team to help you onboard as well. Also check out Propy. They're leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. I am a Propy token holder. I have been since 2018. Also check out VeChain. I am a VET token holder and bullish on this project. Link will be in the description. Check out our free newsletter, book on Amazon, and course at mycryptocourse.com. All the links in the description. Okay, folks, this week we could get a stablecoin bill passed in the Senate. So could this be a factor that helps the market turn, after Bitcoin consolidates a bit? It's possible. We don't know, of course, with any certainty here, but this would be a huge win. In fact, Senator Bill Hagerty, who is a big sponsor of, it's his bill, the Genius Act in the Senate, he went on CNBC today, highlighting the benefits of getting this done, and that, Congress needs to get it done, folks. So this is very good. Fingers crossed it happens this week, because if they're able to get it passed in the Senate, they'll get a version in the House passed. Eventually, they'll have these bills merged together, and then it will be sent to President Trump for signatures. Many of you know there's big implications with getting a stablecoin bill passed, not just crypto clarity, but US dollar dominance. That's why I think this bill is getting such a level of focus and urgency behind it, because stablecoin issuers will be, by law, kind of forced to buy US treasuries. That's beneficial for the Fed and the Treasury and the US dollar, right? And US dollar dominance as the world reserve currency. So there's a lot of things at play here. This is significant. And I think Senator Hagerty going on TV talking about it this week, the vote coming up, it's going to be big. Here's what Faryar Shirzad of Coinbase had to say about it. He said, passing stablecoin legislation is an urgent national priority. The future of finance will be built on blockchain infrastructure, and the U.S. needs a trusted, digitally native U.S. dollar to compete in an increasingly on-chain global economy. The Genius Act isn't perfect, but it goes a long way to ensure that U.S. dollar stablecoins issued in the U.S. under U.S. rules are the currency of choice on-chain. So this is really great, folks, and I think this would unlock incredible innovations. Stablecoins being able to be used by the average Joe and Jay. Not that they can't use it, but you need the big payment infrastructure, folks, like PayPal and the credit card companies to get the green light so they can start pushing it to consumers. And, it will help reduce fees, improve transaction speeds, and it will just help things to run a lot smoother behind the scenes, because many of you know the SWIFT system, which was built in like the 70s, it's outdated, right? It's a messaging system, but having stable coins running on Rails, instant settlement will change a lot of things, and how people do business and much more. So this is a critical piece of legislation that is needed and would be incredibly bullish for the market. Now, check this out. XRP Futures go live on the CME. They said here, the CME said XRP and micro XRP futures are now live. Trade now and manage your exposure to one of today's leading cryptocurrencies. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse tweeted out, the launch of regulated XRP futures on CME marks a key institutional milestone for XRP, and very excited to report that Hidden Road cleared the first block trade on CME at the opening. Wow. A couple things here. XRP futures going live on the CME. This is it. This is the gold standard for futures. I know some of you don't like futures because it's used to short the market. That's beside the point. But to have this on an institutional level at the CME is a huge milestone for any asset, whether it be Solana, XRP, or others. Second, this is a critical component for the SEC to approve the spot ETF. We may not like it. I've spoken to Hester Peirce at the SEC on many interviews where she said, look, you don't necessarily need a futures market, but unfortunately the previous administration did it this way. They did it for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it looks like the SEC is keeping the same process here, where they're going to want to see the futures market live. They'll want to see a large enough sample size of the futures in action. And then I believe this will lead to a spot ETF approval, because if they don't, they're going to get sued just like they did in the Bitcoin case, right? Because all the components are there. So huge win for XRP for the spot ETF. And, look, if you're into playing the market both sides, it allows you to short, right? You can go long spot and then short, with the futures here. So there it is. Ripple also tweeted out the following. They said, Ripple payments momentum is building in the UAE following our DFSA license. Zan Bank and MamoPay are now live on Ripple payments, bringing always-on blockchain-powered cross-border payments to one of the world's top remittance hubs. So Ripple is hitting the ground running, building and getting partnerships and doing acquisitions as well, right? Hidden road, as Brad just mentioned. So huge news here. I know some of you are going to say, but Tony, the price isn't moving. Again, I'll respectfully get that out of your head. Good news does not equate to price pumping. If it aligns with what the market is doing, if the market is in a bullish setup, then yes, it can contribute to that. But if the market is in a pullback, and like I said, Bitcoin leads the market, and Bitcoin is pulling back right now, overheated, overbought on the daily RSI, then XRP is not going to pump, right? You really have to understand that and keep that in mind. It's nuance. I understand the simple way to look at it is positive news is supposed to equate to pump. Negative news is supposed to equate to dumps. It just depends where we're at in the cycle, both from the micro and macro. So I had to learn that. So that's why I'm trying to share that knowledge with you all. And I'm trying to hammer it home because I see people just move by sentiment. Oh, it's positive. What, it must pump. I feel happy. No. What is the data telling us, right? Where are we in the cycle? Because there's going to be times XRP is going to move and there's not going to be any positive news because it's just going off technicals and the market, with liquidity and sentiment and tech and all these, different metrics and so forth, right? So please understand that. It's so important to understand that. So you're not moving by your emotions and moving in the roller coaster of emotions. That's not investing. You have to look at the data. And that's what I'm trying to share here with you folks. So really great news. And like I said, this will lead to the spot ETF, which will be huge for XRP. Now, some interesting news around Michael Saylor and Strategy. They have added 7,390 Bitcoin for $765 million, but they got hit with a class action lawsuit. So this is interesting. Let me give you the details. The fact that they bought Bitcoin is nothing new. They've been doing it nonstop. And I have a concern with the amount of leverage they're using. I hope everything works out for them. But look at this. According to a May 19th filing with the SEC, the company was also the recipient of a class action lawsuit. The suit accuses Strategy officials of having failed to represent the nature of Bitcoin investments accurately. So, we'll need more details. I don't know what they didn't, highlight properly, but not good. Let's see. So it says here in the recent SEC filing, the firm wrote that a purported class action lawsuit was filed in the U.S. District Court of the for the Eastern District of Virginia against the company's executive, Strategy Chairman Michael Saylor, President and CEO Phong Lee, and Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer Andrew Kang are all defendants in the suit. Strategy's officials are accused of violations of Section 10B of the SEC Act of 1934 as amended and Rule 10B-5 there under the Section 20A of the Exchange Act. My goodness. So it says here the suit claims that the named defendants made false or misleading statements with respect to and or failed to disclose information with respect to anticipated profitability of our Bitcoin-focused investment strategy and treasury operations and the various risks associated with Bitcoin's volatility. So we shall see. Some folks are saying it has no basis, but I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. We'll have to wait and see. and what they decide to come up with. It could be a specific time period where Michael Saylor and the folks at Strategy were not doing a great job communicating in the early days of him buying Bitcoin. I think they're doing a great job now. I mean, they're very transparent now, but it could be at a certain period of time, like the early days, that this lawsuit is focused on. But we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully nothing too detrimental. I don't think it will be. But the thing that worries me is the amount of leverage. Geez, you know what I mean? Geez Louise, the amount of leverage here is kind of outlandish. But hopefully there's no blow up come the bear market. Now, the strategy of Japan, Metaplanet, they continue to use Michael Saylor's playbook here, and they bought another 1,004 Bitcoin, and their holdings are now over $800 million of Bitcoin, which is wild. Pretty crazy stuff, man. So, look, I have no problem with companies taking some of their cash on their balance sheet and buying Bitcoin. No problem. When they get into excessive leverage, as we've seen in TradFi, what excessive leverage has done, that's what concerns me. But hopefully everything works out. Folks, once again, check out our sponsors, Uphold, Trezor, Propy, VeChain, also free email newsletter on Substack, my book on Amazon, and course at mycryptocourse.com. All the links will be in the description. All right, folks, I can answer some questions and talk to you guys about what I think about different coins and much more. And let's get into it. So once again, TLDR, be patient. Normal volatility on the weekly. Bitcoin still looks bullish. The whales keep accumulating. Exchange supply keeps diminishing. Stock market also seeing a recovery. Global liquidity is on the rise. Dollar is still weak. All those factors conducive to bull market activity, folks. So just be patient. Thanks, Brett. I appreciate it. T-Stocks at Trezor user, good stuff. Yeah, I'm a user of Trezor device as well. I have the Trezor Save 5 device. So I'm a user of that. It looks like some folks want to know about Ondo. I see multiple. So folks, I've added Ondo to my portfolio. Just FYI, I plan to interview the founder and CEO of Ondo soon, Nathan Allman. So stay tuned for that. So Ondo has been performing very well. Look at what it did in the Q4 rally, folks. I mean, that's pretty nice, right? It performed really well. Right now, still below the 200-day moving average. It needs to get back above, but we're seeing higher highs and higher lows. It looks good. And it's beginning a lot of adoption. I mean, serious adoption news, big partnerships, MasterCard and all kinds. JP Morgan just recently tapped Ondo for some tokenized stuff. So it's getting the news. The narrative is there. Could it see $3 and higher? That's possible. No guarantees. But with the strength we saw in Q4, that looks pretty good. So it's not far from that all-time high of just over $2. So I think it could run. And like I said, I've added to my portfolio, not financial advice. Do your own research, of course, but looks good here. Let's see. T-Stock says, I think Ondo will be big in the next cycle. Yeah, it's definitely possible. AMKK is asking about Quant, I believe. Is that QNT's Quant, right? I don't hold Quant. I've heard a lot about it, of course. Let me move myself out of the way here. Let's see. Yeah, Quant. Okay. Let's pull up the chart on Quant. There was a lot of news around Quant for a while, but I haven't heard anything much lately. Let's see where it's at. So what I'm using here, guys, just so you know, is the Fibonacci model to help get an idea of how a coin may perform, its likelihood of returning to its all-time highs and even higher. So right now, Quant, let's see, hasn't performed that great. I mean, it popped up a bit in the Q4 rally, right? But it is still down significantly from its all-time high. So what happens when you have a situation where these coins are down significantly from their all-time high and they're not even close, they're not back at the 618 or anything like that? Like, for example, if we look at XRP, XRP, very strong, right? Very strong chart here compared to 2021. It's already broken the 2021 highs and things like that. It's already broken its all-time high. That's a strong chart. But when you look at something like this, it needs a lot of strength to push up. And then will it even touch its old all-time high of 421.25 bucks or something like that? The probability becomes, it becomes more difficult to do that. So you gotta see, as the bull market continues, does it start to show life and strength? And will that strength take it to new highs where it can enter price discovery, or simply a retracement to like the 618 or something like that? That is something to keep in mind. Now, if you bought down here in the bear market bottom, right, and the lows and all of that, and you sell at just like 300 bucks, you're making a nice return. It just depends on your entry price, and there's no guarantee that the coin will break new all-time highs. Something to keep in mind. Not all coins are going to achieve new all-time highs. They may simply retrace to their previous high or just below their previous high. So this is why we want to watch the market closely, have a cash out plan so that you're taking profits on the way up in case things top out and it's like, wait, my coin didn't go to new highs. Well, yeah, that's a possibility that you have to be prepared for. So this is where you want to compare charts. You can go to TradingView and pull it up. You look at the XRP chart, super bullish, strong chart. Look at that, right? Look at where it's at right now compared to the previous highs. That is what you want to see. Now, Solana was showing this same type of strength. It took a big hit in the correction that we recently experienced, but it's starting to work its way back up. But it was in the same place XRP is right now, breaking through its all-time high, showing a lot of strength. It was a leader in the rally in 2023 and 2024. So this is an example of a strong looking chart right here, right? XRP as well. So just things to keep in mind, folks. If you look at Cardano, it's got ways to go. It's not looking too strong here. It didn't do incredibly well in the Q4 rally. So again, keeping it all in perspective here and just looking at how things are playing out. Doesn't mean it can't rally later in the bull market. So just keep that in mind. Armin says, opinion on Aptos. So I don't hold Aptos, but I've heard a lot about it. I've interviewed Avery Chang from Aptos, and it seems like they're doing some great stuff. Let's see here. Whoa. Ooh. Wait, was this thing the starting price at $72? Wait, let's see. Is that right? Okay, I don't think I'm going to use that chart because I don't know what that was about. But Aptos, same thing, has some work to do here. This coin was launched when? In 2022. And of the bear market. So one good sign is that in the rally of Q1 into Q2 of 2024 with the Bitcoin ETF launch, it did really good in touching that high it hit in 2023, but it is down significantly from that. It needs to show strength. Again, not being biased or anything, just looking at the chart, I need to see the strength. Now in Q4, it did rally, but not as high as it did before. It didn't make new highs. So that's a bit concerning, but we still got time, and we'll see how this coin rallies later in the bull market cycle. T-Stock, Tony, your podcast is awesome. I use this in conjunction with Real Vision. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to hear that, T-Stock. I'm happy to be of help, and appreciate you subscribing and tuning in. PB29 says, Tony, greetings from New Jersey. Tony, what do you think about the upcoming bear market low could be for XRP? Thank you. We should get a drink in Jersey. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in Jersey now, of course, but still close to New York. So as far as lows, that's a great question. It's hard to tell, BB, because here's what I'm thinking. You have these ETF products, which there are outflows of ETFs, right? You see them happening, but they almost put a protective barrier around assets. So let's say we get an XRP spot ETF, which I think there's a high probability of that, right? We just talked about the XRP futures on the CME approved. That may prevent less volatility. You know what I mean? Like there's not going to be a bunch of retail people just dumping and this people dumping, because a lot of these assets may just sit in the ETF for long term. So I'm still, the jury's out on my end as far as how big of a pullback will we see in this bear market. Will it be the 80 to 85% we've seen in the past? Probably not. It might just be like 50 or 60%, honestly. But TBD, we could get some epic crash, maybe some bad news happens in the macro, and then it sends everything down 70 to 80%, right? But if there's nothing like that, and it's just a normal bear market pullback correction, could it drop 50 to 60%? Possibly. And I think the ETFs will be a big catalyst, in addition to more liquidity coming in the market if crypto legislation's passed, because institutional investors don't move like retail. They're not as volatile, dumping, oh no, let me panic sell, right? They don't do that. And many of their wealthy clients could be holding for the long term. So I think there will be less volatility. How deep of a correction, we have to wait and see, especially how heated the bull market gets. If it's super euphoric and all that, and the market does the opposite of the herd, we'll have to wait and see. So that's my answer for now. As things progress, I think I will have a better answer for you. JB Crypt Keeper 11 says Cororeium. So I do have some Cororeium tokens from a long time ago. I don't know much about what's happening with this token, honestly. If this, let's see, these flash pump candles are crazy on these charts, but Cororeium right now is struggling clearly, right? You look at the chart, looks like a big fat L. I'm not saying it won't recover, it won't move, but showing a lot of weakness here compared to where it was, you know what I mean? But bull market's still young in a sense that we still got some time where a lot of these coins, which may be laggards, can catch up. Michael Carter says, hey T, what are your thoughts on H-bar? Will it reach a new all-time high? So where and when do you see it in the pump? Thank you for your time and efforts. Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you for tuning in. So let's look at H-bar. And in full disclosure, I am an H-bar token holder. I am bullish on this project. And let's look at the chart, right? No bias here, even though I'm a token holder. This chart looks bullish. I see a lot of strength here compared to the other charts I was just showing you guys. Now, H-bar pulled back naturally, just like everything, based on the tariff uncertainty crash. But look at the strength it showed in Q4. Look at how high it rallied up to the 618, not far from the all-time high of about 59, 60 cents. So it's not far off, folks. It's not like it's down here, in the dumps. It's off that bear market bottom, showing strength. It's peaking above the 200-day moving average here. So I am hoping, and again, I'm saying I'm hoping because there's no guarantees, we get to $1 plus, maybe $1.50. That would be amazing. Again, I would be happy with $1 plus where I'll start taking profits. If it's able to, get up to $1.50 or higher, that would be amazing. But you can see when you zoom out on the chart, the strength you're seeing on this chart, right? That it rallied and it's not far from that all-time high. It's not all the way down here like the bear market lows. It's not doing anything. It's not like it's struggling, right? So looking good here. I'm bullish on H-bar. Since 7 even says won't do nothing until we get a spot. Are you talking about HBAR or XRP? It's Dr. Phil says, how will meme coins do this cycle? So I'm not a big fan of meme coins, but unfortunately, I think they will continue to do well. That's like the NFTs of this cycle. Remember, last cycle was NFTs. Previous cycle was like ICOs. So unfortunately, I think meme coins are the bridge to bring in a lot of retail, and they will continue to do well. I mean, just look what they were doing in Q4 and most of 2024. It's annoying at times because some of these meme coins are utter trash, but they are good meme coins in a sense, like Dogecoin, I think Pepe. You know, they have actual communities. There are some developers building on them as well, but then there's some nonsense out there as well. Wonders of Animal says, is Hedera superior to XRP? You know, one of the things to keep in mind, Hedera is not a true blockchain. It has blockchain components, but I remember interviewing Mance Harmon and the other founder, I forgot his name. It's not a true blockchain in the sense of what some of these others are. But, you know, one thing's to keep in mind, one blockchain can't rule them all or support the entire world in transactions, right? Especially as we're going to tokenize. So there's going to be different chains out there. They're going to maybe be the primary blockchain for different industries. So keep that in mind. I'm trying to think what's the best comparison. I think I would need to do more research to say which one is better. I think XRP is better for payments, while HBAR may be better for enterprise governance and doing different types of enterprise activities, whether it be like supply chain management, internal transactions, and things like that. While XRP, I think, is more on the payment side. Hey, Eric, how are you? Great to have you. AMKK says, I talked a few years ago to someone who worked at HSBC in Singapore. She was very surprised that I know so much about Ripple and XRP. She told me Ripple will be very big in the future. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of people who hate on Ripple and XRP, but the acquisitions they've made, the rails they've set up, the network, you can't deny that. Those are facts, man. And I'm not emotional about coins, right? I want to make money. That's my whole thing. And I want to walk away from this bull market with monies, because it doesn't matter, you know, all the who says this and this is great and they're getting adoption if we can't make money off of it. At the end of the day, those are nice stories and nice things that are happening, but how is it going to help me? So I'm looking to, you know, make as much money as possible. And I do believe Ripple is going to be very successful. Obviously, the SEC headwinds being moved out the way is really great. And I think they can hit the ground running, doing a lot of great stuff. Marvin says, Russia may ban USDT usage. How do you think this may affect the market? So here's the thing. We have a lot of other stablecoin alternatives out there, like USDC, Ripple's RLUSD. You have PayPal's PYUSD. And then with stablecoin legislation around the corner, we started off the show talking about Senator Hagerty going on CNBC, talking about the Senate could pass stablecoin legislation this week. It's going to bring more players into the market, and even from the more of the TradFi world, banks are going to issue stablecoins and much more. So if Tether starts getting roadblocked in different countries, they're still king of the hill because they have this incredible first mover advantage and huge network effects that they are all over the world, man. And even if like they've had problems with the EU, right, with the MiCA regulation, that didn't affect Tether's dominance in a sense that they're still, no one is close to competing with them. That could change over time. And to your point, if Russia bans them, it could, you know, reduce their market share. But I still think they're going to be king of the hill for a while, especially as you have Cantor Fitzgerald here in the United States, huge TradFi company, Howard Lutnick, the founder and CEO, working for the Trump administration, you know, backing them. They're going to be all right. But we'll see. You know, it's good to have competition in the market. I would love to see Ripple's RLUSD grow, Circle USDC, and we have competition. No one says, my strategy is to sell XRP whenever there are news announcements. They always hype, so I'll always dump on the news. Look, that's a decent way to go about it. Obviously, you want to match that up with the charts because as we talked about, you got some good news today, but that didn't move the price because the market itself as a whole is in a pullback. So just line it up with the price, line up with the charts so that you exit appropriately. Like today, would today be a good day to exit XRP when it's moving down? No, right? You want to buy the dips and buy the blood and the fear and depression and sell the rip, sell the euphoria and greed. Kroll Bro says, hey, Tony, thanks for the great info. What do you think about ICP? So ICP, you know, one of the interesting things, and I'll show you guys on Santiment what's been happening. I've been seeing ICP in the top 10 for developer activity. I'm trying to pull it up here, but it's, let's see. Okay. So something is cooking up on ICP. I don't know what they got going on, but let me see if I can sort here. By the way, this is on-chain data, you know, like developer activity and things like that. This is a factor when it comes to coins performing. It's not a huge factor. It's not the primary factor, but it is a factor, right? A chain that's getting a lot of development and building on it can do, you know, it's a sign that there's life, there's activity, there's things going on, and network adoption. So that could help with the price. Man, this thing is like taking forever to load, but let me try to refresh here. Let's see. Come on. All right. Well, I'll come back to that. Let's pull up ICP here. Let's see. We'll use the Coinbase chart. Okay. Whew, that's not a good looking chart, guys. Being honest with you, right? Oh my God, that is not a good looking chart. Yeah, that's not a, all of you looking, that is not a good looking chart. That is pretty brutal. So my honest opinion, can ICP get to its all-time high? The probability of it is not likely. Can it rally with the rest of the market and get up to some price, maybe $100 or a little bit higher? It's possible, right? But looking at that chart, it is down significantly, like almost looks like a rug, right? Like it got rugged significantly. I don't know if there's been negative news about it or something detrimental happened, but from what is it, 400, $600 down to $5. That's brutal, man. That is brutal. Look at the chart itself. It looks like a big fat L. Again, I have nothing. I'm not pro ICP. I'm not negative, anti ICP. I'm just looking at the chart saying, damn, that's rough, man. And even the rally off the bear market, you know, in March and even November only took it up to near like $20. So pretty brutal. Now, if you bought like the bear market bottom, you bought it at like $4 and it rallies to, I don't know, $60 this cycle, you're still making a return. But would I go buy this coin based on this chart? Nah, man. Unless there's something huge coming that we don't know about, but I wouldn't touch it. But look at this. This is what I wanted to show you guys. ICP, Internet Computer, #1 in developer activity. So I don't know what the hell is going on, but the price is suffering big time. Again, being honest with you right here, right? Compared to where it fell from. I mean, that's a brutal chart right there. So again, depending on your entry price, if you bought it at the bear market bottom, and you may make some money, this thing rallies up to 50, 60, or even higher. But if you bought it at the top of like 600, 500, 400, man, that's tough. Marvin. Well, Marvin, yeah, I mentioned it. I don't think it matters with USDT, honestly. I don't think it's going to affect USDT. There may be like a small pullback, but I don't think that's detrimental. I don't know what Pi is, honestly. Yeah, I haven't heard of it. What time is the Genius vote? So I believe it's Thursday, or is it when are they voting on that? Let's see. Let's see here. I guess it's tonight. Yeah, looks like some people are saying the Senate is expected to vote tonight on the Genius Act. So let's see. The time is a good question. They said it's tonight. So I'll try to find that, but I'm not seeing anyone really posting an exact time. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing the exact time. It may be like it's TBD. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I see someone said Genius vote is 5:30 today. So we shall see. But it would be really huge if they get that done, folks. It would be massive. So I Am Gold International, it's the Senate that is going to be voting, not the House. Yeah, it's the Senate. Oh, here it is. Senate set to vote Genius Act stablecoin vote tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that's the time, folks. MJG23, the industry is buying ETH like crazy. No, I agree with you. Look, there's people who hate ETH, but all emotions, all feelings aside, there's a lot of buying at ETH taking place. I've seen on-chain data showing a lot of whales buying ETH. So ETH, like XRP, is faced a lot of hate, and like ETH is dead, it's never coming back, right? I mean, my goodness, its price took a massive hit. It underperformed. Obviously, the recent rally is very good, but I do think ETH is going to catch up because there's some significant things on the horizon, like staking being added to the Ethereum ETFs, which the SEC is working on. So I think things like that, a major catalyst, will drive a lot of buying from institutional investors because they can hold an asset in the ETF and earn the passive income. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. What is this? For all people on alts, they are very high risk. Be prepared to lose most of your money and make a lot fast. Most lose. It would happen to me, and I put some back in BTC, and it has recovered all my losses. So this is a great point. The further you go down the altcoin rabbit hole, the further you're going on the risk curve. This is why I hold Bitcoin. I know some people, there's like this mental thing of like, I can never own one whole Bitcoin. You don't have to hold one whole Bitcoin. You can buy part of a Bitcoin and let it be your gold, right? Think of it, if you own some gold bars or whatever, you're not trading that every day. It's like you're holding it long term. That's how I treat Bitcoin. That's why I've been saying there's some Bitcoin I'm never selling. I'm going to hand it down to my daughter, because look at what Bitcoin's doing. The scarcity aspect is there. Governments are building reserves. The United States is setting up a reserve. States in the US are setting up reserves. So you definitely have to have some Bitcoin in your portfolio. Just hold it, right? Let that be kind of the foundation of your portfolio, your foundation of your house. Then build your altcoins on top of that. And the altcoins is what I use to make money for majority of the bull markets, to go in and out. But I'm holding Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong. I'm cashing out some Bitcoin that I bought, a long time ago. So that's how I'm approaching it. But like I said, there's also some Bitcoin not selling. So I agree with what you said here, Teju, if I'm saying that right. Great to have you, Matthew Singer. Appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. T stock. Russian economy is, too small. Plus, geopolitically, I don't think anyone really, with the way the world is going and all the geopolitics, if Russia bans USDT, I don't think anybody's really going to care. It's like if the United States bans USDT, that's going to be a big issue, of course. How you doing, Crypto Reach? Great to have you. ZBCN. I don't know what ZBCN is actually, but T-Stock says, how can I support you, Tony? Can you explain the Substack pay for subscription? What else can I do to support you? T-Stock, to support me, so the Substack subscription, that is just like a tip, right? So if you want to support, you can do that. It doesn't unlock anything, so you can do it that way, or you can become a YouTube channel member. You can also, purchase my course, and this is something, that you can share with your friends and family. It gives you lifetime access. So you can do that as well. Those are your options. Visual Vendetta says, are we still in a bull market? Visual Vendetta, based on the data, yes. And I started the stream talking about that, with USDT dominance falling, whales accumulating, exchanges, supply and exchanges continues to drop, global liquidity continuing to rise, the dollar continuing to weaken, the stock market also showing strength. So we're seeing that V-shaped recovery. That is all good, great signs. So, and then when you look at the Fibonacci models, right, from the highs we've hit in the past, Bitcoin is not even close to hitting the 2.618, let alone the 3.618. So multiple factors saying we're still there. And if you want to just go with simple averages, look at the 200-day moving average. We're comfortably above that. Again, that's bull market territory. When we are below it, right? Go back to 2022. When we are below it and we are dropping, that's bear market, right? Same thing in 2018. So all the signs are there. Folks, don't forget to check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy, sell, and stay crypto. Trezor, great hardware wallet to easily and safely store your crypto. Their wallets are open source. I'm a user of the Trezor Safe 5. Propy, they're putting real estate on chain. I'm a Propy token holder. Check them out. They're disrupting the real estate industry. You can buy and sell properties on Propy for crypto. VeChain, I'm a VET token holder, bullish on this project. They're partnered with many brands and enterprises, building reward programs, Web3 applications, sustainability, and much more. They're partnered with UFC and Dana White and many others. So check out those sponsors. Link will be in the description. Check out the newsletter, book on Amazon, and my course at mycryptocourse.com. CMDR says FTX. What about FTX? Oh wait, is that someone's username or something like that? Because let's see here. So 80 says, I got into Propy yesterday and it seems to be doing okay. What's your predictions on this token? Thanks for your content. So Propy actually was doing really well in this cycle. Obviously, everything has pulled back with the tariff situation, right? As mentioned, I am a token holder, but like I said, Propy was doing really well. Look at this. This was in Q2 of last year with the ETF launch. That's a bullish chart right there. Huge strength. I mean, look at that, right? Compared to the other charts I was showing you. Now, it didn't do as well in Q4, and it pulled back significantly. So what we want to see is a similar type of rally here to new highs. I'm hoping, again, I'm a token holder, they can get to $7, possibly higher. No guarantees. I want to make sure I give that caveat because, sometimes you throw numbers out and people get that number stuck in their mind. That's definitely happening. We don't know if that's definitely happening. We got to see how the market plays out. But it rallied significantly off its bear market bottom. That's a very good sign. Not far from the old all-time high. So I like what I'm seeing here, but it's got to show some strength as we come out of this this big correction we experienced with the tariff situation. So again, I'm hoping for $7 or so higher. That would be amazing. That would be very happy, man. 80. So, but you know, to your point, 80, if you got into it recently, this is a great place to buy because you bought the blood, the fear, the dip, right? This is how you invest. You buy the lows. You look at the charts. You're not, if you're buying up here or up here, that's not good. Okay. But if you're buying down here, that's very good because the likelihood of you making a return is high. The probability is high because if this thing just simply, let's say it doesn't get to $7, but it simply just rallies up here to $4.50, you made money, right? And that's the goal. The goal is not, oh, this coin is better than this coin and this one got adoption. That has its place. But the goal at the end of the day for you and I to take home is profits and money, right? So we got to bring it back to what we need to get done here in this market, because sometimes people get distracted by narratives and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, wait, what are you here for? A religion, a social club, or are you here to make money, man? And again, nothing wrong with making friends in the industry and having a community. Like, I appreciate all you guys tuning in today. I'm happy you're here, happy to share some knowledge, happy to have the conversation. But at the end of the day, man, I'm looking to make some money, get some more financial freedom, as I'm sure many of you are, right? At the end of the day, we need to make some money out of this bull market, folks. That is the main goal. That keep the main thing here. And, you know, it's great, again, to build the friendships and much more. Great to have all of you here. Visual Vendetta says, why are so many YouTubers now against self-custody? I haven't heard of anybody being against self-custody. Maybe you can drop some names because I haven't really heard of anything there, but I'm big on self-custody. I have been for years. I have Trezor as my sponsor. I use hardware wallets. And if you saw what happened with the Coinbase situation recently, I mean, you know, these exchanges, they're vulnerable in certain ways. Obviously, when you have a hardware wallet, you have to take extra precautions, like putting that hardware wallet in a safe place, like a safe in your home or a safety deposit box or somewhere in a bank or something, and back up your private keys. But there's less likelihood of someone being able to access that wallet and hacking it, if you know what I mean. T-Stock, thank you so much for the donation, $9.99. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Visual Vendetta, that's not true because, again, you know, look at who BlackRock chose to build their tokenized fund on first, Ethereum, right? And remember, there specifically for Ethereum, there are upgrades that are happening. They just had the Petra upgrade, and Bitcoin is not, I understand what you're saying, slow and expensive, but Bitcoin is being used as digital gold. So you have to understand that use case. You're just thinking about payments. So you have to understand there are multiple use cases for different assets in the world. Not everything is about payments. Bitcoin, its swim lane right now is digital gold. So you can't compare. I think people are making a mistake of saying, oh, you see, XRP's faster and this is faster. But okay, but XRP is not digital gold, right? So understand that. Just like physical gold, we don't transact with physical gold every day, but hell, people hold it and they invest in it, right? They hold it as that hedge. So same thing here with Bitcoin. Yeah, JB Crypto Keeper 11 says the layer 2s on ETH will keep it alive. That is a great point. But also remember, the layer 2s are more of the retail consumer facing, kind of like what Solana does. Quick, easy, fast, cheap, right? But ETH layer 1 is more enterprise. Slow, but high decentralization, high security. And that's important. That is why BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, and all these folks are building and tokenized funds on ETH. And you can't ignore that. You can't put blinders on and ignore that. That's real world adoption. Atlantic Living says, Tony, does it make sense to invest in Casper, VeChain, Flare, Velo, and Zebek, or just focus on ISO 200? Can you please advise? So I'm not a big believer in the ISO 222, whatever it is, narrative. there's a lot of people who push that narrative. I'm not a big believer in that, because how should I put it? That is a very payments focused narrative versus a layer one tokenization building on those platforms. Again, is BlackRock caring about ISO when it's building a tokenized fund in Ethereum, right? See where I'm going here? So to be careful with some of these narratives that some of these YouTubers push as though it's the biggest thing, right? They're trying to push this big narrative. Oh yeah, but then I look at who's building and what they're doing, and I don't see them mentioning anything about ISO. Just, we're going to tokenize this fund, we're going to put it out in the market, and so on and so forth. I don't hold Casper. I do hold VeChain. I am bullish on VeChain. And I've been holding the VET token for a long time, earning like the VTHOR gas token, right? So the VeChain chart, though, is not, again, being unbiased because I hold the token, not looking too strong here. We need to see more strength. In Q4, it did rally, but it was a small rally. So I'm hoping, as a token holder, we see more strength and a better performance here, and that it can crack the old all-time high. But as I've been mentioning before, there's no guarantee that it's going to break the old all-time high and head into price discovery. It could simply retrace to the 618 or something like that. I hope that's not the case. So that's my approach to it. I am a Flare token holder. I currently delegate, and as things progress with Flare, I will be taking profits on it because I got the the airdrop from the snapshot, the XRP snapshot. I don't know much about Velo. I don't know much about Zebek, and honestly, I've been seeing people posting about Zebek, but I have not gotten a chance to review that. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure, Visual Vendetta. Happy to help. Let's see here. Luca L says, "Yo, did you change your mic?" I didn't. I know some people tell me like the live streams, my voice sounds different than on the regular recordings. I think it has to do with the settings with my recording software. For some reason, I haven't figured it out. So, apologies if it sounds weird or different. How's it going, XRP Plumbing? Great to have you. PB29 says, Tony, we should do an XRP meet in Jersey City. PB29, email me. My email is in the description of my videos. And let's try to organize something, especially as the bull market heats up. We can probably do like a tri-state, New York City, Philly, Connecticut, Jersey type thing. We could figure that out. Nathan Stevens says, yes, stack those alts. I have all plus ISO. Yeah, and once again, nothing wrong with the ISO narrative. Just don't let it be the biggest thing for you, because there's other things happening in the market, right? Tokenization, RWA, I think is a bigger narrative than ISO. And I haven't seen anything, how should I put it? I haven't seen a strong case of ISO and certain crypto assets being used by certain folks. Honestly, tokenization, RWA has been a big one. Obviously, you got AI tokens, you got meme coins, and you got DPIN. DPIN is huge in a sense that, I should say, it's going to be huge. I misspoke there. It's going to be huge. I think in the next cycle, it's going to be a monster because it's going to bridge the real world to the crypto and blockchain asset class. XRP Employment says, let's do Portugal. I'd love to do it in Portugal and visit Portugal. Leg Yo says, hey guys, so XRP CME ETF is happening. Yeah, so that went live. So we mentioned it earlier, the news, and we talked about Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, his statements on that. So the major takeaways are, this is the major pillar here for the spot ETF to be approved. This is what was needed for the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. The CME also has listed Solana futures. So we needed this to get it done. I mentioned earlier that Hester Person, in my interviews with her, said futures are not really a requirement, but that's how the SEC has been doing it. So this is huge for the spot ETF. And also Brad highlighted that Hidden Road cleared the first block trade on CME at the opening. So huge news here. Oh yeah, for sure. 80 Propy's all-time high, hitting that would be great. BitTrue Exchange. Yeah, I'll try to get BitTrue. I think I interviewed the BitTrue Exchange CEO years ago. I'll try to get that. Thanks, Lawrence. Thank you for tuning in. Kevin Baharani says, hey, Tony, I really don't want to pry, but I did put money into Link2 and feel like no one has been able to really answer what's going on. Yeah, Kevin, I don't know much about the situation. I heard about what's happening. From what I've heard, bits and pieces, is that they are restructuring. Everyone's funds are safe. Again, I used the platform years ago and I took profits off, didn't have any problems, but obviously we know how things played out eventually there. So I know it sucks, so you got to be careful with these platforms. But I honestly don't have any new information to share. I haven't been keeping up with it. But there are folks, I think, like John Deaton and others, Ray Fuentes, I think, who work there, have been posting updates, if I'm not mistaken. Swift coin, SWFTC. Is that a meme coin? Yeah, Kevin. So years ago, yeah, I used it years ago, but I didn't use it, let's see, for like a year and a half before the situation happened. Thank you so much for the $19.99 donation, XRP Plumbing. I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. Michael M says the problem with Bitcoin is that the narrative changes all the time. Well, to your point, Michael, let's address the elephant in the room. Satoshi Nakamoto in the white paper, wanted Bitcoin to be that digital currency, and it still is a digital currency. The problem is it is not conducive for mass adoption, in a sense that slow transaction speeds, high transaction times, or high transaction fees, excuse me. But because it's also hard money, it's hard cap at 21 million. It requires a lot of energy and capital to mine it. It has become digital gold, similar to gold, the actual precious metal. You have to put money and effort into digging it out the ground. It has become that digital gold. But you can still move it as a currency if you want, and if you choose to pay the high fees, right? And you're not in a rush to move the money. So stable coins, I think, will be more of the current digital currencies that people are going to use to pay versus Bitcoin. But they're going to hold Bitcoin as digital gold, just like they would hold physical gold as a hedge. So I don't think Bitcoin's narrative has changed all the time. I think there has been a big shift in its narrative. Now, ETH, yes, ETH is continuing to chip away at fixing its functionality issues. But what it has going for it, Michael, and again, we can't ignore this, right? We can't be biased. It is slow, obviously, than many other blockchains, but part of its slowness helps it with its decentralization in addition to its security. In speaking to different experts, and you look at BlackRock and all these firms that are building on Ethereum, you can't ignore that. How can the two things be happening, right? On one hand, you and some folks are saying ETH has issues and blah, blah, blah. I thought it was decentralized, but yet BlackRock's building on it. Why? Because BlackRock sees the scale or the spectrum of decentralization. Sure, ETH may not be the most decentralized, but it is decentralized enough, and it continues to do upgrades that make it more decentralized, and it has the security, and that's what they care about. Because institutions don't want to put their tokenized assets and all these things on a blockchain that may fail and doesn't have good security. So ETH has never went down, but then you look at Solana, Solana has gone down, right? So these are things to think about. Pitt 1890, what is your origin story? So Pitt, I've talked about it. You can also read about it in my book. Shameless plug here. My book on Amazon available in digital and paperback. But I got into the crypto market in 2016 when a friend told me about it, and I've always been into technology. And I went down the rabbit hole and started reading the Bitcoin white paper and studying blockchain, and then I realized, man, this is the next layer on top of the internet. This is the way we're going to do transactions. The economy, the markets, the governments are going to be powered by blockchain. And over the years, I built my channel on non-hype. You don't see me putting out stuff like, here's the next 100x altcoin gem, right? I don't do that stuff. I simply bring you the facts, the news, the data, the charts. I'm not here saying, hey man, you're going to make 1,000x on this meme coin. Jump in right now, go buy it. When have I ever? I've never done stuff like that, right? So I keep it professional. I keep it, I avoid the nonsense of pump and dump and all that stuff that people have done, and many have gotten burned by it, right? I think as time progresses, they get exposed because they pump these scam coins, and they're not transparent. They don't tell you, oh well, I own X amount of the tokens. You guys know my portfolio, but I'm buying on the coins that are on the open market, not some ICO or anything like that. So I think that has helped me to get guests because I built a level of trust, and I hope you guys appreciate that. Wujit says, what a joke. He doesn't know what Swiftcoin or Zebek are. Unsubscribe. Well, see ya, Wujit. Good luck with those coins. In and Out Crypto says, if you come to Vegas, shop by the Sin City studio. Interesting. I'll check that out. Yeah, for sure. Have the discussion, Michael, and it's important to look at all aspects and make sure you don't get caught in your own echo chamber, because sometimes, look, I've been there. I've listened to certain people, and then you kind of piggyback on their narrative, and it becomes this echo chamber. But you have to sometimes step away from that and say, okay, what am I missing? Let me look at this completely, right? Let me look at the pros and cons of everything. Even the coins you look at, you have to do that. It is human nature to kind of back your candidate, your coin, your sports team, right? And you don't see the faults of your candidate, your coin, your sports team, but you have to do pro and con analysis on everything. So I do the pros and cons on Bitcoin, XRP, ETH, and whatever's in my portfolio. I look at, okay, what are people saying? What are the criticisms? But what are the pros? And do the pros outweigh? And what are the big players in the market doing towards those respective blockchains and coins? So you really have to analyze it all and put your bias aside, put aside your feelings and emotions, and just look at the adoption, right? That's so important. It's something I had to learn and a journey I had to go through so I could take the right bets on the market and make money. And so far that's worked out for me in having that approach. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap up soon. It's been over an hour. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, check out our sponsors, Uphold, great place to buy, sell, trade, and stay crypto. Trezor, great hardware wallet to self-custody your crypto. I'm a big believer in self-custody and their products. I'm a user of the Trezor 5. Their products make it easy for you to store your crypto safely. Check out Propy, disrupting the real estate industry with blockchain. I'm a pro token holder. Check out VeChain. They are getting enterprise adoption globally. Folks are building all types of sustainability, Web3, and rewards programs on VeChain. I'm a VET token holder as well. Check out our free newsletter, on my book on Amazon, and course at mycryptocourse.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Wishing you all the best of luck in this bull market, that you make incredible returns. And remember, have that cash out plan, because once we start hitting the ground again and things start taking off, it can move really quickly. So just know at which price points you're taking profits at, and you have it all mapped out, folks. It's so important. So as always, be patient. When in doubt, zoom out. Don't invest with your emotions. Look at the data, look at the charts, and like I said, wishing you all the best of luck in this bull market, that you make incredible returns. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you all later.